I'm Mark Boris, and this is Straight Talk.
We did stupid shit together. You know, it was riots, stabbings. It was rough at one stage. But we'd congregate down the beach together, surf together, train together. There was that brotherhood and, yeah, just have each other's backs.
Johnny Gannon, welcome to Straight Talk, mate.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Taj Burrow, who you trained.
Taj, yeah. We travelled around the world for 7 years. I was his full-time trainer.
We've touched on breathwork, meditation, types of exercise, sleep, nutrition and hydration. That all gets put together. That's quite a big package for people to digest, especially if they're new to this.
Don't chase perfection because you're not going to get perfection out of all those things. Just be good. That's it.
Yeah.
With exercise, nutrition, we're looking for longevity.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and teach.
Johnny Gannon, welcome to Straight Talk, mate.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Mate, you're a long way out of town. Like, you're normally Northern Rivers, dude. Like, what's
yeah,
going on?
mate. I now reside up at Tweed Heads, just on the Tweed River there. So it's beautiful. Good place to bring the kids up. Yeah, really happy.
You got a missus?
Yep.
So happily married?
Not married, but we got
Whatever. Same deal.
three healthy, happy kids.
How old are the kids?
I got a 4-year-old daughter, Buffy, 7-year-old daughter, Joey, and a 9-year-old son named Grayson.
Should you name your daughter after Robbo's missus?
Nah, definitely not. No, there's not too many Buffys around. So
No, I never known one before.
Yeah,
Robbo's
Buffy
missus.
Williams,
But, hey, so why move up to the Northern Rivers? Like, what was, and when did that happen?
Oh, it was 5 years ago. I was living in Maroubra in a 2-bedroom unit, South Maroubra, and I loved it. And we just were thinking, how are we going to afford a house? Because we got another baby coming, and just looked at the Northern Rivers. Actually, we were thinking about Byron around that area, and we just rented a joint up around Northern Rivers and saw a house we really liked and just jumped on it. It was in the middle of COVID, so it was it all worked out really well for some reason. It all happened quick, and yeah, stoked with the move.
And so we might just give some context to that, because you're living in the Northern Rivers, but you're a Maroubra boy.
Yep.
More than a Maroubra boy. You are Maroubra, as in Bra boy.
Yeah.
You're one of the original Bra boys.
Yeah. Grew up in Maroubra, and when the boys the Bra boys have been around for a long period of time, but as our generation went through the beach, then we've really formed the Bra boys.
So it wasn't a beach mob before?
It was, yep, definitely. It was all surfers and everything, but they weren't as tight. They weren't as tight as we were.
Or as organised?
Or as organised, yeah. Probably not as organised. And then, as we grew up, it sort of just evolved into the Bra boys. And we all got the tattoos and got in a bit of trouble here and there. But what the saying was, my brother's keeper or something like that, as I recall. I mean, there's been a lot of documentaries on this, and, of course, lots of discussions about a couple of the dudes in the group. I won't say gang, but the group. Yeah. And some got themselves into trouble, and there was a few. Let's call it. There's at least one fatality I know of. Yep.
And lots of speculation around it. Was it more as like it sounds a bit soft, but a social club, or was it actually, or was there for a purpose?
It was a bit of everything. It was a gang at some stage. Like, we were a gang. We did stupid shit together. It was riots, stabbings, murders. It was rough at one stage. But then, you could, like, we've always denied it, but yeah, it would have been a gang when you look back on it. Then there was that brotherhood where we looked out for each other, because there was a lot of kids that come from broken families. I didn't. I had a pretty good family upbringing, but a lot of the boys come from broken families around the back of Maroubra, around Lexington Place, which was rough, mate. Back in the day, it was. Is that
a household area?
It was full household. Yeah, full household. Still is.
Yeah, still is.
And so we just would congregate down the beach together, surf together, train together. And that's what sort of brought us together, the surf and the training, and some broken families. And yeah, just have each other's backs and for as long as we possibly could. And then, we sort of all fell apart at some stage and now we're back together again. So
Well, what period are we talking about now? Are we talking about the 80s?
Yeah, through 90s.
90s.
Early 2000s. Yeah, through that period.
Because they had a lot of people in these suburbs sort of semi-terrified, like the Bra Boys would turn up to a venue.
Yep.
Or something happened, and the Bra Boys would turn up to the venue because in response to that. And, being a Noosa suburbs gang, it's not that scary because, you expect them to sort of come out from out west somewhere.
Yeah.
But you guys, I used to hear stories about some of you guys training in things like jiu-jitsu when jiu-jitsu wasn't even heard of.
Yep.
I mean, it was, but it wasn't a thing. Training actually how to fight, how to scrap.
Yeah.
And I used to hear some stories where you'd turn up at events or a bar or a nightclub or something like that and just take control. Yep. And the coppers even have told me stories about once there was a massive conflict between the Bra Boys and the cops.
Yep.
In a bar.
Yep.
Did you see much of that stuff?
Yeah, saw it all. So funnily enough, 2 Brazilians moved to Maroubra probably 25 years ago, and they were both jiu-jitsu. One was a jiu-jitsu black belt, Bruno Pano, and Alex Prats, who's now one of Rob Whittaker's main jiu-jitsu coaches. They moved to Maroubra just by coincidence, and they both knew jiu-jitsu really well. So they brought jiu-jitsu to Maroubra 25 years ago, and we all started then. But jiu-jitsu wasn't even really talked about back then. We saw it on sort of the early days of UFC, before even UFC started.
Like the early MMA days.
Early MMA days, like way back when it was cage and no rules, and the Gracies would come in their gis and dominate, and that's all we knew about it. So we're so interested in it and like learning a different martial art, because we all did a lot of boxing as well.
Yeah.
And that's where it all eventuated from, and then it just grew from there. And we used to like talking about the police fight. That was one of my mate's 21st. That was that was a shocker, like for both.
Yeah.
Like looking back on it now, like it was just an all-in brawl, and it was a lot of frustration and anger that come out because the cops were on one level and then the boys were on another level. That was a Christmas party, police Christmas party. Boys were on another level, and it just turned into this massive all-in brawl.
It was always going to happen.
Yeah, it was always going to happen.
If they were there holding their function, you were there holding your function, it was always going to happen.
It's always going to happen. It was just a bit of a shocker, whoever booked both parties on the same night.
Why did you, I mean, you didn't come from a bad, upbringing.
Yep.
I mean, you lived in Maroubra, but why did you join up?
It was just because I surfed there and was a local down the beach, and there was this side of it where we wanted to make the beach safe, because the beach was a dangerous place. And there was a side of it where we wanted to make the beach safe for our mums and grandmothers and everyone, sisters and
why was
the
dangerous?
women.
People getting stuff getting stolen?
There was everything. There was rapes. There was
wow.
There was like women, it wasn't a safe place for women and kids to walk around at some stages. There was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of alcoholism. So the idea of that was to make the place safe. And then it did start to, it went one way so far that it turned into something that was way more than just making the place safe. It turned into more of a gang, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's how it that's where it come from.
And what killed it off, sort of thing?
Mate, like the main thing was prescription drugs, I'd say. Again, to be honest.
Like Valium and stuff like that.
Valium, Xanax.
Yeah.
Oxycontin, those two.
The big painkiller.
The big ones. They were that because back in the day, people didn't realize how dangerous they were, because they would come from over the counter.
Yeah.
So you think, it's from the chemist. It can't be that bad. And then it just hit like it was rampant, and you didn't even need a prescription. You could go get it off the street for hardly anything. It was cheaper than all the other drugs. And
definitely cheaper than alcohol.
Cheaper than alcohol, cheaper than cocaine, and it tore the boys apart. Oh, like that. Again, that's to be honest. It was a downfall.
Yeah. So, and today, do you still have any contact with the guys? Or some of
Yeah,
them?
definitely. I'm going to go down the Bay pub after this and have a couple of beers with the boys. And
Good. And they're all dads now.
They're all, mate, that scene's finished.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good to see. Like, everyone's got young kids. Maroubra's a beautiful place to bring your family up now.
Yeah,
like, it's safe and it's fucking expensive.
Yeah, totally.
But so, mate, it's honestly, like, it's probably that's one of the best things to come out of it. It went full circle. Everyone learnt their lesson. And, the dads or, got families, family men.
Yeah, and growing up a bit.
Growing up, you grow out of that shit.
Yeah.
You don't need it. You don't need that.
And the shit off your liver. Like, the world's not to blame.
Yep.
It's, we got to take some responsibility, I guess. And I'm not here preaching to people like, fucking hell, I'm the last person to do that. But, but I guess when you're young, it's easy to sort of blame everybody else and then take things in your own hands.
Yeah, like no one put those pills down anyone's throat but the boys did it themselves. So you can't make excuses, but it was a life lesson. And just let that know for the younger generations that those drugs aren't safe.
For as long as I've ever known you, and I met you through Ginge originally, and David would have been, well, David's 60 soon, and I first met him when he was 30.
Yep.
Maybe even a bit younger than that. You've always been into fitness because, Ginge's always been talking about, Johnny's doing this. I remember one period there, Ginge was telling me that you used to talk about putting your feet on the grass, bare feet on the grass. That process.
The old earthing.
Yeah, earthing. So, and you're always looking at different things.
Yeah.
Where's that sort of curiosity about, I'm not going to talk about training, there's just general health.
Yeah, I try and keep an open mind on the whole, everything that comes through the industry, like have a crack at it and see what works before I sort of start using it on clients or giving advice on it, that's for sure. So I give it a crack myself and, just the whole earthing thing and anything else, like especially for recovery. I'm big on recovery and de-stressing.
What's that mean, de-stressing?
Well, I just noticed that if you're in a stress state, it's really hard to lose body fat and it's really hard to put on lean muscle mass because you're stressed. And training and everything's another stress on the body. So I always look at ways to recover. So I'm looking at like obviously the basic ones is breath work, hot cold immersions, and then earthing and now I'm big on just lying back on your back and just doing 5 or 10 minutes of meditation a day.
It's me. Here's John Gannon talking about meditation a day. But but it's a fair evolution. If I could just go way, way back though, let me just creep back into this whole process because you just covered a lot of ground then.
Yep.
You said to me would it be fair to say that you keep up to date with all the latest developments?
Yep. Through
some sort of structure in terms of your own life and research? Like, I mean, what are you accessing? Before Google, before what we're talking about now, what were you accessing, say, 20 years ago?
20 years ago, well, I went over and studied with these guys from the States who taught foundation training. And it's
what is that?
It's a postural sort of awareness movement patterns where you can do it with no equipment. All you're doing is really engaging the back of your body because these guys.
I'm noticing you're doing it now.
Yeah,
you haven't
I'm trying to sit up
down.
straight.
And you are. But it's a conscious.
It's consciously sitting up and making sure. Because if we sit, imagine you're sitting there looking at your device, you're hunched over, your shoulders round forward, your head migrates forward, and you try and take a big breath in that position. It doesn't happen because your sternum's pushed down into your diaphragm, rib cage doesn't expand properly. But as soon as you sit straight, shoulders back, take a big breath in, you'll access your diaphragm and that nice expansion of the rib cage. So I'm really into teaching people that side of wellness, like not just strength and conditioning and in the gym and bashing yourself up. I'm looking at like the simpler ways for the other 23 hours of the day you're out of the gym, how to teach people how to sit, stand, move, breathe. I'm right into that side of it.
Well, why is it important then, Johnny, for example, to be able to breathe properly from your belly, expanding your diaphragm?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Well, if you are in that hunched over position and you're taking those little shallow chest breaths, your body recognizes that as a stressed out state. your heart rate lifts up a little, and you're not relaxed. You're in that sort of sympathetic state. When you sit up straight and you access diaphragm and breathe correctly, you go into more of that parasympathetic state, and your heart rate will lower. So you're relaxed. You're in a bit more of a relaxed state, and that's when you recover, because you're in that parasympathetic state. That's the rest, digest state that we're looking for. And especially if you are stressed, like, there is a lot of stress around at the moment. I don't know if you noticed, like, obviously financial stress with interest rates, cost of living.
There's political stress. What's going on in the world?
Political stress, massive one. Like, who knows? Like,
it's war, totally.
And there's a fair bit of sickness in the community, like influenzas, another big stress on the body. So that's why I'm just noticing with clients and friends and family, just to get down and do 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever time you've got, just to get down and do a bit of breath work, lie down, guided meditation. Like, you've got a Headspace app. We've got just YouTube's 20 minutes relax breathing.
Inside timer.
Yeah.
That's another
all
one.
that stuff.
Yeah.
You just get down and just give yourself 15, 20, whatever it is, what time you've got. Just try and get into that parasympathetic state and just, de-stress.
So maybe I'll just get you to explain the difference between the sympathetic state and the parasympathetic state. They're actually the opposites to what you would expect.
Yeah, they are. It confuses me sometimes.
So the sympathetic state is what?
It's a stressed out state.
So your body is stresses.
Yeah, it's stressed out. Heart rate's elevated.
Cortisol
levels are up.
Yeah,
you're shallow upper respiratory breathing. You're not in that relaxed state. So what I try to do is get that people down in the other way, go the other direction, because it's all right to be in that sympathetic state, but not for long periods of time. Like, we use it to say for competition. You get into that sympathetic state. Let's go. I'm revved up. Adrenaline's up. But you can't stay at that level for long periods of time, because stress is detrimental to your health, like your heart health, your physical health, your mental health. So that's why, especially in the challenges I do, I add a de-stress element to one of the foundations of the challenge.
So now let's just talk about, so I think most people understand what the sympathetic state is, or most people experience that cortisol, adrenaline, short breath, a bit panicky, and it can be anything that sets you off. Probably most people don't realize, as you just explained, that you can put yourself in a position that your body thinks it's in that stressful position, but just through bad posture.
Yep.
Let's talk about then parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is about recovery.
Yep.
And we've never really thought, like most people, especially trainers, never really thought about recovery. All we're thinking about is train, more training.
Yep.
Do some more training. I miss that training. Do another training session. Can I get 2 in for the day? And that's all about stress. That's putting stress on your body.
100%.
Let's give me a little bit of an understanding about this recovery process from your point of view. Like, what are we talking about here? Is let's put meditation aside, like the mental stuff. But what do you mean by recovery?
So, like we just spoke about, like when we're in that stressed out state, it's okay, but you need to come back down into that recovery state, and it really helps with your sleep patterns. Okay, and there's obviously there's different ways to do that. There's hot cold immersions that are really popular at the moment. That's why all those recovery centers are so popular at the moment, which is great. It's a really good form of taking inflammation out of the body, which is another stress. When you're inflamed, you hold on to inflammation. So if you can bring that down, that's massive.
And you do that through a cold bath?
Hot colds. You can do whatever protocol you want. You can do 3 minutes in the cold, 2 minutes in the hot, whatever suits you. I can't tell people that one. Some people just love doing the saunas. Some people just love doing the cold. Some people like doing a bit of both. That's a massive one.
So sort of trying to manage your inflammation.
Inflammation.
Because when we train,
it's
we get
inflammation. 100%.
When we've got sore muscles or sore joints.
Bit dehydrated, bit inflamed. So we're looking at hydrating as well.
So what about hydration then?
Hydration's a massive form of recovery. Okay.
So what are we talking about? So how do I know if I'm not hydrated?
Well, this is sounding like I'm a bit fanatical here, but I get on the scales. I get on the scales a couple of times a day because I know I sit on 92 kilos.
Yep.
If I go for a surf and have a train, I'll come back in at 90 kilos. I know I've got to drink 2 litres of water to get back up. I know I haven't lost two kilos of fat or muscle.
Yeah.
I've lost 2 kilos of fluid. So I'll jump on the scales. I'm 90 kilos. I'll drink a litre of water. I'm back up to 91. I'll drink another litre, and I just try and balance my hydration like that. It's not a bad way to do it. I had a bit of electrolytes in the water, a bit of potassium, magnesium, and salt.
No sugar.
No sugar. I just keep it salty. I have no flavoring at all. Some people love flavoring. I just keep it salty and minerally. And
your body actually, it's funny, I have that just full salt like that too.
Yeah.
And my body, I think initially I go, oh shit, I don't want to drink this because you think you're going to puke, but then your body tells you it likes it.
Yeah.
It likes the saltiness.
You adapt to its goodness. You adapt to it pretty quick.
That's interesting what you just said about you go for a surf. I know if, like when I used to have to cut weight, thank God those days are over. I used to have to cut weight. I know I'd always love it when we had if in the amateurs you weigh in the morning. You've got to weigh in every morning, but you weigh in the morning. And I used to like the weigh in the morning because if I go to bed at 9 o'clock or whatever, 10 o'clock, then I wake up the next morning at say 6 or 7 o'clock, and let's say you go to the bathroom and do that business.
Yeah.
Just through that night time, you lose a kilo.
Yep.
But just your body's used it up, and you're breathing and you're sweating and stuff like that. You're a bit dehydrated. Yep. I haven't lost any muscle or any fat or anything. No. I mean, it's just lost
fluid,
water.
Yeah.
And a litre of water is a kilo. That's the usual general rule.
Straight back on. Exactly.
A litre of water is 1 kilo weight.
Yep.
If you've lost 1 kilo weight after a heavy training session, it's not because you lost a kilo of fat.
100%.
You lost a kilo of water. 100%. And it's not a bad rule.
Yeah.
Which means you've got to replace it.
You've got to replace it.
With a kilo of water, with a litre of water.
With a litre of water, because you feel like shit. Yeah. You feel like you've run down, you feel fatigued. That dehydration.
You lose lots of clarity.
Yep.
In your brain because you feel a bit buzzed.
You get a bit of a headache. That's the first sign of dehydration.
Because I watch these. I'm watching fighters, boxing matches all the time, and I was watching the other day. I won't say who it is. It's someone well known in Australia. I got a bit disappointed with the corner because I noticed that two things. After about round 5 or 6 in a pro fight with 3-minute rounds, your body temperature goes up to about 40, 41 degrees. Quite dangerous.
Yep.
Like if you were a little kid, every one of your kids, and his temperature is 40, you're off to hospital. And you're burning a lot of fluid. And I noticed that they weren't putting any ice on his head to cool down his core temperature. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't drinking much water. And I thought to myself, what happens in that situation, especially if you get hit on the chin, like what happens in that situation, you start to lose clarity and you can't respond to what's in front of you.
Yep.
So you can't make good decisions.
Yep.
So if I just take that and extrapolate that out to someone who's just a normal person out there who doesn't get up in the morning, drink a litre of water as soon as you get up, I don't mean immediately, but like start drinking the water. Instead they get up and they drink coffee, dehydrate yourself even more.
100%, it's a diuretic.
So drink some water before you drink coffee. But that person, if they don't, this happens a lot of times, as you know, a lot of people don't drink in water. Then they go to work, they're trying to make decisions, they've had 3 coffees, they wonder why they make mistakes. And that's without any training. Add a bit of exercise in there, they're really dehydrated. So how do you get into your client's head, the ones you train, the ones you look after, how do you get into their head like, come on, you got to change this? Because this is a lifestyle change for all these people.
Yep.
I mean, like, drink water. Do you put them on a program?
I don't. What I do is just say you constantly have a bottle of water with you. Go and buy a good quality water bottle, good stainless steel one.
Yep.
Carry it around with you.
No plastic.
Times. No plastic.
I'm same. No plastic.
No plastic. I don't. Even with the BPA-free plastic, I don't trust it, especially if it's in the sun and all that. But
totally.
Buy a good stainless steel water bottle. You can have it until you lose it. I've lost 1 million of them.
Yeah, I've got 1 million more. I've got them all over my house. It shits because I got so many bottles everywhere. But
and everyone leaves them at the gym. I've got a collection of them because everyone runs out on a bit of a high out of the gym. They leave their water bottle there. But mate, carry a water bottle with you at all times, and find a good quality electrolyte that you like. That's got the magnesium, the potassium, and the salt in it, because you see people say at the end of a marathon when they lose their coordination and they hit the wall, it's called, all that is lack of minerals in the body.
Because you sweated it out.
You've sweated all the minerals out of your body. So the potassium, magnesium, and salt, if they had the electrical currents that go through your body that connects your brains, the little signals that run through your nervous system, they don't fire.
Because they need
they need those minerals as a current to fire, to conduct.
Yeah.
And they've gone. It's depleted. So that's why they've just turned into jellyfish. They can't stand up. That's exactly why we need to stay hydrated. And that's an extreme.
That's an extreme version, but it doesn't matter. It does affect people.
Yeah.
I mean, old school guys, like, mate, I tell you, I can remember I used to train with this guy called Gary Stumbles, and we would go out on Friday. This is what we do. Friday, we get on the Friday we go and train. Train our ass off after work, like really hard training. No hydration. Yeah. Straight to the pub.
Straight to the pub, yeah.
Drink 10 beers.
Yeah, that's old school.
Yeah. And then Saturday lunchtime, around 11 o'clock, find the hottest part of the day anyway. Backpack, full of sand, and we used to go for a run. And you wonder why you get fucking injuries, like bad knees, whatever you get. You wonder why, but and that was what we used to do.
Yeah,
like back in those days, we were young, so you sort of get away with it. Like, but still, that old school system. So, I think what people like you are trying to do is you're trying to bring back some intelligence.
Yep.
Some thought process based on science.
Yeah, well,
you're not just making shit up.
Yeah, well,
it's based on science.
I follow. I've got my people I follow on.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Can you give us an example? Who's someone
I follow Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's an American woman, and she's clued up on. She breaks down all the science. She breaks down all the science of all the latest studies
about exercise,
about nutrition, exercise, movement, sleep, hydration. She's really good.
Dr. Rhonda
Patrick.
Yeah,
she's cool. I just like the way she explains things. Like, I couldn't read a scientific paper to save myself, but she breaks it down really well. Her, and then there's a few others I follow that we'll posture up a bit.
Yeah.
There's a few others I follow, but it's pretty interesting. It just interests me, that side of it. And I think it's a way forward because, again, it comes down to recovery. The better you recover, the better you train. So that's the way I look at it as well, because if you're recovering through hydration, through hot, cold immersions, the better your next performance is when you train. The more, like you're saying, cognitive connection you've got with your body when you train, because when I'm training someone, I'm not too worried about reps and sets. I'm more thinking about how can I get this person to move better through cognitive sort of movement with intent. So I'm saying slow down, move with intent, think about what you're going to do.
Like a purposeful move.
Purposeful movement.
Yeah.
Like it's all, and it works so much better than just, when you see people at the gym and they're just getting through their reps and sets for the sake of it. There's no thought in what they're doing at all.
So, I mean, in other words, you're saying if you're going to exercise, have a strategy.
Have strategy and move with purpose, like you just said, and intent. And it's more cognitive. You just connect with the movement way better. Slow it down and then work on speeding it up.
So because I was thinking about this the other day, I thought, because, I've got this project and I'm trying to work out how to optimize myself to go to 100 years of age. And I thought to myself, well, Mark, what are you training for? What do you want to achieve with your training? Therefore, that should inform me as to what type of training I should do. And then I thought to myself, well, let's say when I'm 90, if I get there, but if I'm 90, it'd be great if I either got great grandsons or granddaughters, whatever. And let's say they're 2, and let's say they weigh 12 kilos.
Yep.
Can I bend down and pick that kid up functionally?
Yep.
So I think to myself, okay, well, Mark, maybe now, at my age now, you've got to start training for that day with movement and or exercise that sort of mimics that process, because you don't want to be at 90. Either you can't do it, you're frail,
or the parents don't trust you picking up the baby.
So, Dad, don't do it. Yeah. Or alternatively, I do it and I injure myself. Yeah. And then because once you injure yourself at that age, you're in trouble for a long time.
Trouble, mate.
A long time.
That's
hips, backs. Yeah. You do a knee, and you don't want to have to go in hospital get a back operation or a hip operation or that in those periods. So you got to have enough flex and muscle and strength and what have you. And body muscle memory, etc., to be able to do these things. So how important is it for people, when you say purposeful, how important is it for people to sort of actually say, okay, that's the function I want to be able to do.
Yep.
So I don't really need to go and do curls.
Yep.
Because I'm not going to be curling the kid up. I'm going to be using my
you're going to hip hinge and you're going to use a nice smooth hip hinge
and what's the right technique?
Low. That's it.
A technique. Get my body used to a technique.
Yeah, and you can get down into a nice deep squat pattern or a nice deep hip hinge.
Do you do that? Do you
definitely. And I you know what? That is a great motivator. What you just mentioned there, being able to keep up with your future grandkids, that's such a good motivator.
Well, it is for me.
It is. It should be for everyone.
But I don't know. But do you find that, John, that like when you get to is it just a function of, say, someone gets to my age and that's only when we start thinking about it? Because, and even you now, in your 50s, when you were 30, mate, a lot of the stuff you wouldn't have thought about. You just, I mean, when I was in my 30s, I was just rip a tear, whatever. Yeah. And I did, and I applied that sort of attitude to everything I did.
Yeah.
Work, sport, everything. Now I'm older. Do you feel as though we need to start to educate people, at least in our country, educate younger people, and I don't want to be a lecturer on anybody, but educate them about the benefits of starting early.
Yeah.
The thinking process.
Yeah, it's a hard, like you're saying, it's a pretty hard sell to get people in their 30s start thinking about movement when they're 60, 70.
Are you seeing any of this?
Not really, no. I see it more now with our age.
Yeah.
Definitely. But when you're that age, like you're saying, it's work hard, play hard.
You're bulletproof.
Which is understandable. Yeah, you're bulletproof. You couldn't care what's going to happen to your body in 5 weeks' time. You just want to look good. And saying that, vanity's a great motivator as well.
Totally.
Like it's as
because
much
you're all a lot leaner than you used to be.
Yeah,
if I go back 20 years, I reckon you would have been. I don't know, maybe 10 kilos.
Yeah, probably 5 or 6
kilos
heavier.
But you were much thicker.
Yeah, I used to put on muscle pretty quick.
But now you're more lean.
Yeah, I'm pretty lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try and stay around 92 kilos now. That's like a pretty happy medium for me, but I have to eat to stay at 92.
Can we talk about that then? Eating?
Yeah.
Like eating, take my age, by way of example. The amount of food, like our breakfast is Ginge, as you know. And by the way, he gave me enough information to stitch you up so good,
I bet
mate.
he did. He loves it.
But I'm not going to do it, okay?
Yeah.
But because the only reason I'm not doing it is because I don't want to make him think how good's this. Johnny's getting stitched up. So there are some stories I'm not going to tell him. But anyway,
thanks, mate.
But Ginge said to me on Saturday, he said, "Mate, you just got to eat less." And I thought, yeah, but it's relative to the amount of exercise 100%. You do. And I don't want to eat less and get too skinny.
Yeah.
I don't mean skinny in a bad way, but at the same time, I don't want to be. Like I'm about 85. I want to stay at 85 if I can.
Yep.
How the fuck can I do it though?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, should I be taking protein powders? Like, I just don't feel that hungry anymore.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tricky one because I agree. I don't like going under 90 kilos. I look frail and I look like people go, you lost weight. You look like you don't look that well. It just doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
And I like just holding that weight. So
what do you do like to keep it?
Definitely do some strength training, strength hypertrophy work to put on lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
And
so that's resistance training.
Yeah, resistance training. Yep.
But what does that mean though, John? Like, does that mean like trying to bench your best bench, or are you doing 3 of everything or 5? What are you doing? Like,
I do. Well, if I'm trying to put on lean muscle mass in these challenges that I run, I do sort of anywhere from 8 to 12 reps.
8 to 12 reps.
4 sets.
And at what
it's
percentage?
Old school basic.
You can't do more than 10 reps.
10 to 12 reps.
Yeah.
10 to 12 reps max. And then I always try and pick a weight. It's pretty simple, where the last 3 reps are getting really tough.
Right.
Okay. Those last 3 reps you're going, and you're getting feel like you're getting the old school pump.
Yeah.
The old school burn.
Yeah.
That's when I feel like I'm putting on lean muscle.
Is the reason you want to do 8 to 10 reps is because that's tearing enough muscle, but without actually tearing too much muscle, but tearing enough so that when your muscle recovers, it rebuilds.
Yep. So that rep range is, it's a bit up in the air with reps and sets and how many, but I find that rep range is pretty easy to teach. It's keeps people sort of accountable.
Yeah.
Like you get to, and you can compare it to your next workout. Even if you go up to 16 to 20 reps and still get that pump at the end of 16 or 20 reps, you're still going to put on lean muscle.
Right.
So it just depends.
And
you
how
can
many
mix it
sets
up.
do you have to do?
I do 3 to 4 sets. But sometimes if I don't have much time, like I love this whole concept of if you haven't got much time, still go and work out, because you can still go and do 1 set and just absolutely blast yourself. Say you do 4 exercises, 1 set, go heavier, do 12 reps, but have a good warm up so you don't injure yourself, obviously. You can go in there and do 4 exercises, 12 reps, but push them to the limit. Like the last 2 reps, you are absolutely struggling. You're still going to put on, your body has to adapt to that stimulus, and you're going to put on muscle. I guarantee it.
So when you run your groups, like, how is it? Sometimes I find it can be a bit overwhelming because you go, okay, you're going to do some aerobic work. So you've got to get on a bike or run a machine or roll or something. And some people recommend you've got to do 150 minutes a week, zone 2. Like, that's sort of like in my case, 115 beats a minute.
Yeah.
You could have, 40 minutes, and you got to do that 3-4 times a week. Then you got to do some resistance work.
Yep.
Minimum 2 times a week.
Yeah,
There's 5
2.
days.
Yeah.
And then, like I like to wrestle.
Yep.
If you're doing that 3 times a week, all of a sudden there's no more days.
No,
I'm over a day.
Yep.
And I'm buggered too.
You're buggered.
I'm stuffed.
Yep.
So is it best to sort of say, okay, well, this month I'm just going to wrestle. Next month I'm going to do resistance, and the month after I'm going to do aerobic. I mean, how do you do this stuff?
No, like I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm on pretty much the same program. Whereas I think instead of doing so much cardio, I think pulling your reps and sets, making shorter rest periods. So you're still keeping your heart, when you're doing your strength work, you're still keeping your heart rate at about 115, which you just said, that's your cardio zone, your zone 2 cardio. So if you can wear a heart rate monitor, do your strength work and just go around the gym just with a little bit more of a circuit. So you're still getting your cardio and you're still putting on lean muscle mass. That's the way I'd treat that, because then you don't have to do those extra cardio sessions and you can still wrestle and you're still keeping lean muscle mass on. So that's the way I'd try and cover that, because I know doing those cardio sets and doing those 2 weight sessions a week and wrestling, you're going to be pretty run down, cooked.
Yeah.
At our age, you're
well, mate,
yourself.
as I get older, I find it harder to eat enough. I find it harder to train enough, like what I used to do. I can no drama sleeping enough because I'm exhausted. But then you got to work in the middle of all that too.
Yeah.
Like then you got to fit work in
family, and
then you got all your other extended stuff you got to do. And what I was just talking to you about then is like, I guess, is tailor making an exercise program for someone like, getting older.
Yep.
Let me just dial it back. How do you tailor make an exercise training program for, say, someone like Taj Burrow, who you trained?
Taj, yeah.
Was it sports specific training?
Yeah, definitely.
One of the great surfers.
One of the great surfers of all
who
time.
Who never won anything.
Yeah,
who never won what he should have won.
World title.
Yeah.
Yep. So I worked for Taj for 7 years. We travelled around the world for 7 years. I was his full-time trainer.
How'd that become about?
Through a mate of ours, Sammy McIntosh.
Oh, yeah.
You know Sam.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Sam was really good mates with Taj.
Right.
And he knew I was training all the Maroubra boys, and he just liked the style that I was training with, because he thought Taj needed a bit of a rocket up his ass to try and win a world title. Just a bit more motivation, a bit more grit.
Did he have too much talent?
I would say that
relative to
100%
attitude.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
In all sports.
Yeah.
The most talented kids are the ones that don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So my job was to come in and obviously train a bit of grit into him, like get him hungry, like want to win. He wanted to win. He's a competitive little bugger, but he just more grit, more like, instead of getting to the end of a comp and going, oh yeah, I probably could have done better, but and saying, nah, fuck this, I'm going to win this thing. Let's go. So that was sort of my role. But
how did you tailor make something for him? So, because I've had some, some people, actually someone, a Ginge organizer, someone who hired my pool, and they did, walk, we've got a 25-metre pillar up at the farm, and film walking underwater.
Oh yeah,
walking on the bottom with the rocks
weights.
and shit like that, and which is cool. I wasn't doing this, so I didn't care. But did you do that sort of stuff? Because he's not going to surf big. I mean, he's not going to surf dangerous surf. He's probably going to compete at Bells or something like that.
Yeah, well, they do go to a couple of dangerous waves, like obviously Pipeline and Chopu. Yeah, so they were both really heavy, very dangerous waves, which he sort of he ended up doing really well at the end of his career out at Chopu, and we won a Pipe Master, so he won at Pipeline when I was training him. So they were two massive achievements for him.
Did you get him underwater doing that sort of stuff?
We did a bit of breath work, but not the rock carrying and all that stuff. We'd do sort of empty lung breath holds where I'd get him to exhale at the top so he'd sink to the bottom and just in the water. Because being in the water is so much different to doing breath work on land.
Yeah.
Because you think, fuck, if I got to get to the top here, where on land you can go, all right, I'll take a breath here.
Yeah.
So it's that different sort of stimulus. But yeah,
is that control? Just on that, is that because you got me curious now? Is that you're talking about sort of being able to control your thoughts?
Yep.
When you've got no breath,
100%.
you've got no oxygen left in your lungs.
Oxygen. You go down on exactly it. You go down on an empty. It's called an empty lung.
Yep.
So you'll sink if you know you're not at an empty lung if you float back to the surface. But if you are, you breathe, exhale, nearly everything out. And your CO2 builds up a lot quicker.
Yeah, so carbonic acid just builds up in the bloodstream.
CO2 comes quick.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and either find a way in your head to say, listen, you're fine. You're going to relax. You can either sing a song. You can picture yourself driving down the highway. You just keep driving to the next, whatever it is you want to do. You get down there and you hold that breath.
That's like, and is this in order to mimic what happens to you when you come off your board, for example, and you hit the bottom?
Can do. It can make you feel a lot more comfortable on an empty lung going down and just thinking, yeah, I'm all right.
How long does you got to stay there for?
Well, it's funny because I do a bit of work with the sharks, with the Cronulla Sharks these days, with Fitzy. I go down there and do all their recovery stuff, and we do that pool work. And the boys will start off, because they're not surfers, they'll start off with 15 seconds. And they come to the surface like a torpedo. 15 seconds, they're like, it's that funny watching them. But they adapt to it so quick. By the end of it, a lot of them can do a minute and a half after doing 4 rounds. They'll do 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 minutes, and they'll go to a minute and a half. Yeah, in one go, like
one session.
Yep.
So, and then with Taj, so you get him, you do breath work in the water with him.
Yep.
I want to come back to breath work in a moment because I want to pick your brains on this. But what would you get him to do would you get him to do resistance work?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
wanted to strengthen him up, turn him into wanted to create strength.
I mean, is he going to do bench press? What are you going to do?
No.
Because the only thing he has to do is lift himself up when he's standing up on his board. But what sort of the way
surfers tube ride and everything, you need that sort of stability and strength and balance. Because if part of the wave falls and hits you on the back of the head while you're trying to come out of the barrel, you need that strength and sort of almost like a resilience to combat that.
Is that like you're talking about leg strength or
leg strength, hip strength, core strength?
Yeah, core.
And the way they do a turn too, where they wrap the board around the top of the wave and come back around, it's a lot of leg strength and core. Like you look at the young guys now, they're so thick in the legs and the hips and the core. So yeah, we did a lot of strength work, and it doesn't have to be heavy squats or heavy deadlifts. We were doing a lot of single leg stuff like Bulgarian split squats and single leg Romanian deadlifts, just to bring that balance element into it as well. And that sort of proprioception around the ankle, knee and hip, where you'd get strong in those positions. So
how did it go with him? So like, did it change his ranking, or did it change? How did you measure it? I guess probably a better way.
It's hard to measure. We just measured it like with his confidence.
How does he feel?
He felt unbelievable.
Yeah,
he felt incredible. It was the best he felt in his career. So that was the big one. Like how he felt, and it gave him confidence. Like when you're feeling strong and resilient, you feel confident.
And who did he have to beat? Like he was
up against. It was a tough run. You know, he had Kelly Slater in his prime. He won 11
Kelly Slater's prime.
Yeah. Wow. He had him all through, and him and Taj had a crazy rivalry. He had Andy Irons before Andy passed away, and then later on he had Mick and Joel. So they were both unbelievable competitors, Mick Fanning and Joel Parkinson.
Yep.
So they were crazy.
The Bolter boys.
Yeah, the Bolter boys. They're all rich.
They're too rich now.
Yeah, rich and retired now.
Yeah.
But so he had a bit of a hard run through his career.
But that's the best people to be up against.
Yeah, but that's what you want. You want to be, if you got to win, you got to beat the best.
Yeah. So so when you're sitting down with him for those 7-year period, touring with him.
Yeah.
Would you say to him, did at any stage you have to sort of become his, like, I don't want to call him mentor, but like help him manage his mind?
Oh, definitely. 100%.
So I'm not feeling good. How am I going to get there?
Mate, the highs and lows of professional sport are huge. Like, we'd be on the road for pretty much the whole year. So if you go through a bit of a bad run, like lose early in 3 events in a row, the whole sort of camp just feels it. Like me, him, his girlfriend, everyone feels the pressure to start doing well again. So there was times where I had to sit him down and say, mate, what's going on? Like, what's going on up here? Because physically you're fine. And one thing he would do was win an event and be all on a real big high, and then come into the next event, because you got to learn how to win. So winning and losing, you've got to learn how to lose. You got to learn how to win, because you can be on this super big high and think, I've got this, and then go into the next event, lose first heat, and then the whole thing comes crashing down. I feel like you got to start again.
So what do you do about, in terms of physical exercise, for example, that can help you get through that weird period?
Yeah.
Is there something you would prescribe for him, like in terms of physical exercise?
Yeah, probably give him a good couple of floggings in the gym to get it out of him. This is what we're here for. Like, nothing like competing is going to be easy compared to what we're going to do in the gym.
Make it really hard.
Make it really hard. Say, fuck it, let's go. Like, competing, like you're going to look forward to competing after these next couple of gym sessions. That's one way we used to do it. I don't know if it was the perfect way, but that's one way that worked for him.
It worked for him.
It worked for him. Yep.
And how does he? How do you balance that up though? Like, you're on the surfing, circuit. He had his girlfriend with him.
Yep.
Yeah. But you're on the surfing circuit, mate, and like surfing is notorious.
Yeah.
For good times, and the comp's over, and you're there with all your mates, and everybody's doing their best. After parties. How do you manage that? And not you, but how does he manage that?
That's a good question, because every place we went to on tour, there'd be a party every night, even before the competition started and during competition.
Wow.
So it was a day, like, you had to be really careful, because a couple of the boys did not give a fuck. They'd see a free night out and go, let's go. And
then probably some of those guys could turn up the next day and go okay as well.
Some of them could. And that put through
thinking of Andrew Johns, not that he was competing at that level, but Joey, that's Joey.
Mate, a couple of people did it really well. It took the pressure off. They were just like, I'm sweet, let's go. Like, a couple of them did it well, but I had this thing with Taj where to keep a bit of a social life and not make things boring, we just had this rule. If we went out the night before and had a few beers, we had to be in the gym at 7 a.m. the next morning. There was no ifs or buts. So you could go out and party, but you'd pay for it the next morning. So it sort of reined it in a bit, and it kept the longevity of his career way longer than, I think, if we just had just party and hope for the best.
But you wouldn't party the night before or anything like that.
We didn't, but it certainly happened. And then we would have a bit of a let the hair down at the end of the event, like you said.
Yeah, after.
Yeah.
The after party.
Yeah. But even then, you have to be on a flight the next day.
So how's the circle work? Like, just give me a bit of an idea.
We'd normally start off on the Gold Coast. For him and I, we'd start off in Yellingup. He was from Western Australia. So we'd do 6 weeks. So we'd get there on the 3rd or 5th of January, and we'd do 6 weeks of solid training. Surf as much as we could, no alcohol, and get him lean and hungry for snapper, because snapper was his pet event. That was Snapper Rocks on the Gold Coast.
Yep. And I think he's come back over this way?
Yeah, we come straight back over here. Then we go to Bells Beach.
So so you go to Snapper.
Yep.
Then when you go to, is Bells, like, how far away between Snapper and Bells is in terms of time? Are we talking about between the events?
Probably have, sometimes it just depended on the waiting periods, but sometimes we'd have a week, 2 weeks, just depends.
So basically you're on all the time.
On all the time, mate. You're going from one to the other.
Like, it's like a footy season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal. And because you fly, like, we'd start Brazil, Portugal, Hawaii. Oh, Hawaii was normally at the end of the season back then. And then, Tahiti, Fiji, USA. So we were back and forth, like we were on the road hard.
So would you set up his food?
Yep.
Everything?
Yep. Food. Just try and eat as best we could. Like it was never going to be perfect on the road, but we'd just try and we got it pretty dialed. Like we'd find the locals, farmers markets, and we'd stay. We could afford to travel pretty comfortably. Like we'd stay in nice places.
Because he was getting
eat
sponsored.
well. Yeah, he was getting paid a fortune back then. So we could really focus. He didn't mind spending the money on keeping the longevity of his career. He was like, I'm all for spending few more years on tour than getting to a point where I'm fall off tour because I'm either broken or unhealthy or sick. So he didn't mind looking after himself. And obviously the cost of me being there as well.
You just mentioned Craig Fitzgibbon, the coach of Cronulla.
Yep.
Do surfers get as broken as, say, someone like Fitzy? Like Fitzy's got, lots of injuries from the impact.
Yeah.
Do surfers get that sort of thing?
Not that bad.
They get bad backs, don't they?
They do their hips.
Their hips.
Their hips go. A lot of them have had hip replacements. It's normally their back hip.
Yeah.
So it's their back hip, the way they drive out of a turn.
The foot that's at the back.
The back foot.
Yeah.
Back foot, the back hip, yep.
So Ginger's left hip's gone because he's a good footer.
He's like an old Alsatian.
Yeah.
They're both gone.
Have they? Yeah.
No, he's sweet.
Actually, my brother just had a hip operation, and my brother's on the Australian Surfing Australia, whatever it is with Ginge.
Yep.
And my brother's right, and he's right. He's not a good footer. He just rides a regular surfer, and he's right hip went.
Right hip. Yep.
And he's had his right hip done.
Yep.
Beginning of this year. But now he can't surf anymore. He's stuffed. But that's interesting. I never thought about that because I was thinking myself, he surfed a lot more than I did. I stopped surfing. Like it was just too hard to surf locally. So I couldn't stand all the crowds. But he kept going, and I often wonder myself, is this a genetic thing? Am I going to get? He's younger than me, but am I going to get it in a couple of years' time? Thank God.
Yeah.
Now I know what it is. It could be that.
Yeah,
you're right. It probably was.
It's not. I can't say 100%.
But like,
honest, but it's a big chance. It's his back hip. He's a natural surfer. It's his right hip.
Yeah,
because you'll notice. I saw a funny thing is talking about hips. I saw a photo of Taj and Joel Parko. They're both natural footers, and they're standing together. Their left foot was straight. Their right foot was, but both of them were standing like that with their right foot like that. So it's all their external rotators of the hip are just drawn.
Boxers get it too, Yep. Because the foot they step back on, the back foot, the foot they're pushing and back, going back and forth. I know a lot of boxers had hip operations on the back foot.
It's that back hip.
Yeah, that's interesting. That like if you do it for too long, anything like that. I just want to. You mentioned breath work, so I recently took my senior staff up to my farm, and a dozen of us, something like that, and I brought in a breathwork lady because I thought to give him a new experience. Yeah. I got onto this through Robbo, Trent Robinson. And because Trent likes to try different things like this, definitely. It was interesting. So basically, I'll just quickly explain it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but basically, you breathe in and out through your mouth.
Yep.
Big breaths, but you do it for quite a long time. It doesn't. You don't do it 10 times. We went for I think about 45 minutes or something like that. But the difference between everybody was amazing. Like one person fell asleep.
Yeah.
Another person actually started to cry.
Yep.
Like
people get emotional.
Very emotional.
Yep.
In my case, I felt really. I got really clear head, and I started thinking about things I need to do in my business. I got really a hell of a lot of clarity, and I felt quite energized. I felt good, and everybody had different sort of outcomes.
Yeah.
And I would never have thought so just from breathing in and out. Do you do much of that with your clients? Yeah. I know Northern Rivers a lot of it.
Yeah, there's heaps of it. There's some really good breath coaches up there. Yeah, it's unreal. I love it.
So that's Wim Hof.
Wim Hof's a guru of it all.
Yeah, but
I have been to a couple of Wim seminars over the years. Yeah, and got in the ice after it, but that was years ago. But I don't really go. I love it. And I go to a beautiful place, like free drugs almost, like tingling down the arms, tingling across the face, go to a different place. It feels amazing. But
you do it on your own, or you do it with a person takes you through it?
I like to do it guided.
Yeah, guided, yeah.
You get more out of it, I think, because then you don't have to think. You're not looking at the stopwatch. You've got someone telling you how to do it. I love someone showing me how to do it and different aspects of it. Like you learn from other people, obviously. But yeah, I love it and I get a great experience out of it, and I always feel better than before I started it. I feel way better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and you mentioned meditation. I sort of had a bit of a review bit, but
yeah,
it just I know there's lots of apps around that you can use.
Yeah.
Why is meditation? How is it that it's become so acceptable, more acceptable? Once upon a time, it was all about woohoo people doing it, and they're basically up in Byron or wherever. Well, they're sitting on a mountain in Tibet or something like that, or they're a monk or something.
Yeah.
But meditation has formed part of it. I do it every day.
Yep.
And even if I only do 5 minutes, it's okay.
Perfect.
And even if I can't do it properly, I still try to do it because I think it helps me sleep. But why do you think meditation has become so acceptable today? It's nearly necessary.
Definitely because of mental health. I think we're so much more aware of mental health these days, and we're so much more I don't know if there's a lot more of it in society, but where people are more open about speaking about it. So I think it's more acceptable to meditate, because if that helps your mental health, then why not accept it?
And it's acceptable to have a problem with mental health, or recognize you've got some mental health issue.
Recognize about it and talk about it, and then go and do whatever it is that suits you. Like you see a lot of online people saying, oh, look at these blokes doing heavy deadlifts. It's bad for their back. But I know mates that suffer from a little bit of mental health. They're not too bad, but they'll get in the gym, put their headphones on and lift heavy weights, and their mental health, they feel so much better when they walk out of the gym. So what I'm saying is there's no right and wrong with what people should be exercising or the way they do things, because they might be doing it for their mental health. They might have found a way that clears their head and makes them feel resilient when they walk out of whatever they're doing, the gym, meditation. So why sit there and judge what they're doing when you don't know it could be for their mental health? And like that's why that's getting back to the question. That's why I think meditation's so acceptable these days.
So in your training programs that you put together for your clients, we've touched on breath work. We've touched on meditation. We've touched on types of exercise. You've talked about sleep.
Yep.
You've talked about nutrition, food, and hydration, really important. Because we talk about eating the right food, we've got to talk about drinking the right amount of water, or whatever the case may be, whatever it is you're drinking, electrolytes and stuff. That all gets put together. That's quite a big package for people to digest, especially if they're new to this.
Yep.
If it's not their go. They're 50, bit overweight. What maybe maybe the individual's a sports person before, hasn't really done anything. They've gone to the doctor. Doctor's done a blood test. They said, listen, your cholesterol's too high, blah, blah, blah. Yep. You got to lose weight. Might do DEXA. Like you're out of shape. You've got a bit of visceral fat, whatever. How do they take it when you first put it to them? Is it a shock?
The way I explain to them, because you get this visualization when someone says, the way I explain it's a whole holistic wheel: sleep, nutrition, hydration, but everything comes together in a wheel. You take out one of those pieces, the wheel starts to spin a little worse. Take out 2, 3, the wheel falls apart, spins like shit. So the way I explain it is, don't chase perfection, because you're not going to get perfection out of all those things. Just be good. That's it. Be good at every single one of those things and just try and improve on them a little bit each week. And again, if you go backwards and fall off, it's fine. Just get back on the program and try and do the best you can. But that's going back a bit. As I said, try not to chase perfection, because it's not there. And if you try and chase perfection, it'll do your head in, and you'll just say, fuck it.
And you'll stop doing it.
You'll say, fuck it. I can't do it.
It's too hard.
It's too much for me. Who the fuck could do this in a week?
Totally.
Just be good. And that's the way to go. And you'll progress. You'll get on that nice flow state where you're slowly creeping up the hill. You don't want to go up the hill a million miles an hour and fall off the hill.
Yeah.
But with exercise, nutrition, we're looking for longevity.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and teach.
It's got to be sustainable.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
100%. If it's sustainable, you're doing really well. It's not too much. It's not too little. You're not getting bored. You're not falling off the hill. That's what we're looking for. And that's the way I explain it to them.
So this brings me to the 8-week challenge, to something that's close to your heart.
Yep.
What's that about, mate?
Mate, so going back to DEXA scans, so we call them chapters. There's a bit of a G up. So we get chapters. We got chapters in Maroubra, Lennox Head, Byron,
chapters of
Gold
what?
Coast. Chapters of people that come together and train from all walks of life.
Right.
You can, no matter where you've come from, you can come down and join these chapters. And they're just groups of people, and it forms a strong community. That's what we're looking for.
Did you set this up? You started?
I didn't set them up. I set the Gold Coast one up, and then I've jumped in on the other chapters. The Lennox chapter, they're already going. Maroubra chapter, they've got sort of 90 people. There's one in Newcastle now, but all these chapters come in and do my challenge.
So you set the challenge up.
I set the curriculum. I set the challenge up. Yep. Yeah, I set it up. It's all online. So we got one starting on the 3rd of February next year, and that's the big one.
It goes for 8 weeks, does it?
8 weeks, no alcohol, and doing exactly what we've talked about today. The whole holistic side of health, good, not perfect.
Yep,
it's just good.
Do you talk to everybody online?
I try and we've got a WhatsApp, good old WhatsApp, good for training.
Yep.
For training. So we get sort of the last one we had 200 people do it. So we've got chefs, other trainers. Like, I don't know everything. I've got a nutritionist on board because I just wanted to make the nutrition side more professional. So I've got Kelly McDonald she's on the same wavelength as nutrition as me, but she's really good at what she does. And
she sets up, but when you say nutrition, Johnny, you're talking about she sets up a program. What suggested meals?
She does food suggestions, and then if you want to go into more detail, you can do a private consult. Obviously, it costs more money.
Yeah,
she will do a private consult and set you up. And again, for sustainability, it's not just because a funny story about that is a few years ago, Pat Rafter won the challenge. You know Pat.
Yeah. I don't know him, but I know he's a good mate of Kenjan.
Good man. And he won the challenge. He smashed everyone. He's still a competitive beast, big, strong, like you think, an Aussie legend, and he smashed everyone in the challenge. He lost like 4.5% body fat, put on about 4.5% lean muscle mass, lost half his visceral fat. But he got to the end of the challenge, and I spoke to him. I said, how you feeling, Pat? He goes, mate, I was hangry the whole time. So he was hungry and angry because he was pretty much not starving himself, but he wasn't eating that many calories because he's such a competitor. He wanted to win this thing, and he trained till he was almost broken. Like, he didn't do my training program. He did his own, and he cooked himself. Like you're saying, he was absolutely cooked. And he goes, I'm going to have a month off the gym and I'm going to go and eat shit. And I thought to myself, it's not really what the challenge is all about. Like, the challenge, I wanted to make it so people can eat and live and train like this for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So because that theme of the challenge was just deal with it. So I do a different theme each challenge. That year was just deal with it. So no matter what comes at you, just deal with it. Get it done. And it was a bit, everyone took it literally and went overboard on the training and didn't eat enough. So that's when I thought I'll pull it back. And the next challenge I did was sustainability. Like, let's make this, like I just said, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We will quite happily train like that.
Live this life.
And it was a way better challenge. That's when I started getting a lot of feedback about how good people felt, not just physically, but mentally, because they knew they could live like that for a long period of time. So that's when I was thinking, all right, let's cut out stress as well. Let's cut out the stress. So that's when I threw in the meditation side of it as well. And
so
it worked.
Do you sort of direct them to one of the meditation apps and just say pick one? Doesn't really matter. But do you have to fill a format to sort of say, okay, do you keep them accountable?
Definitely. So that's why we get the DEXA scan at the start.
Right.
So we get the DEXA scan.
So everyone gets a DEXA.
Everyone gets 200 DEXA scans coming at me.
Yep.
All right, I'm like, oh God, how am I going to calculate this? Then I get another 200 DEXA scans at the end. But now we've got a system on the website where people can upload their own data.
So they can log in.
They can log in, put their own DEXA scan results in.
Yep. And what about their training? Can they do that?
Their training's all online.
Yep.
They can either do my training program or they can train with their own trainer.
So you put a program out?
I put a program. It's all there.
Is it like do you put a new program every week, or is it one program for the whole 8 weeks?
It's a 4-week block. So you do 1 4 week, you do train, because I think it takes about 4 weeks to learn the movements properly.
Yeah.
Even if you're going back and doing a squat, like just learning how to squat.
Do you demo them or?
I demo. It's all on video.
It's
all
video.
Demoed. Everything's there. And then after the 4 weeks, we pretty much change the program, because then, like I said, you don't want people to get bored.
Yeah.
And some people after 4 weeks are like, fuck, all right, what's next?
So you swap it out.
4-week block. Yeah. 2 4-week blocks for the 8 weeks.
And then are people interacting with each other? Like, it's not compete, but can you sort of
100%.
Like, not Strava, but not on that app.
Mate, it's competitive. I get each chapter to compete against each other. Right. So I'll take say we got 90 blokes or 70 blokes from Maroubra, 50 from Lennox, 40 from Byron, 30 or 40 from where I'm from. We had South Australia, New Zealand jump in and do it. And I'd really like rural Australia to start jumping on board as well. That's a goal. But I take the top 5 results from each chapter and we add them up. So I think last year Lennox had 1. Yeah, and the year before Byron won. So that just makes the chapters a bit more competitive. And then when you got blokes, say, travelling up to the Gold Coast from Sydney, they can jump in and train with our chapter, vice versa.
So do you train, if you're in a chapter, let's say I'm in the Maroubra chapter, do I physically train with these guys?
Yep.
Like you pick someone's garage or a gym or something like that? And
That's it.
Oh, okay. So you actually go to a joint.
Train together. It creates a community. So you train together, you go and jump in the ocean and all go and have a coffee together, go about your day. It's almost like it's a massive community.
Right, okay.
So we're trying to create a strong, healthy, vibrant community. So these chapters, they all, say if they meet 3 times a week or twice a week, they go and train together and then they can do their own training or they can get small groups and splinter off and do their weight training that I set out. It just depends where they want to go with it.
Well, you know that joint you used to have in Bondi, North Bondi there, where you used to train in the garage? You used to have that.
Yeah, the garage.
Was that one of the chapters?
Was that a chapter? That's where it all started.
Really?
Yeah, that's where it all started with 5 guys. I used to train a group of
it was only a small garage.
Tiny little single car garage. That's where we trained for years. And I used to train 4 guys in there and I was just looking for something to motivate them. I was always interested in DEXA scans and I was like, all right, boys, let's go get a DEXA scan, not drink alcohol for 8 weeks. And then we'll get a DEXA scan at the end and see who wins, see who can lose the most body fat, put on the most lean muscle mass and lose the most visceral fat, the important fat, that fat that sits around your belly.
Yeah.
So all those 3 results we look at and then we sort of did a calculation at the end and see who wins.
Has it done anything for mental health?
Definitely. I didn't set out to do that, to be honest. I didn't set out for it to be I set it out to be more of a physical challenge, but the amount of people that ring me after it and say, mate, my mental health, I didn't realize that I was in a rut. They're not obviously they're not in a bad state of mental health.
Not necessarily suicidal.
Yeah, but they're just over drinking alcohol and using that as a bit of a masking agent for their whatever they're going through, stress at work, financial stress. And then at the end they go, mate, I not only feel physically better, but I feel mentally better. So that was massive. To hear that off a lot of people. How
many people, let's say, so you do it how many times a year?
I did it twice last year.
Okay.
But this one, I don't know. Last year at the same time of year, I got 200 people doing it. I'd like to get 400 or 500.
If someone was to build a chapter, set up a chapter. How do they do it?
Mate, they just get a small group of people from the local community.
Yep.
Pick 2 mornings, just meet either down the beach or at a local gym or at someone's place, and people gravitate towards it. They hear about it, start a thread. Like I said before, the threads are the best thing for group training because you can send out one quick message and everyone's on it. Everyone supports each other. Bit of a no dickhead policy.
And how do they register though with the 8-week challenges? Like you have to go register yourself.
Yeah, when that time comes around in February, you jump on. It costs $250 to do the challenge.
Yep.
and then you pay for your own 2 DEXA scans. They're $100 each.
Yeah, that's pretty
so
good.
It costs $450 all up to do the challenge. But like if you're a drinker, you'll save that money in 2 or 3 weeks,
Totally.
not even
Totally.
a couple of nights.
Totally.
So that's
how many years have you been doing this for? Because I remember
it's about 6 years.
You live in Bondi longer than that, though.
Yeah, I've been training in Bondi around those places for years, but I think we're up to about challenge number 7 coming up.
Number 7. And why do you do it? It's not for money making. So why are you doing it? Why is John Gannon doing it?
I really enjoy just seeing people come together in a community and have each other's backs. Where like even when the floods were on, like up in 22 when the floods were on,
in Lismore,
it was Lismore and all around down towards Lennox and all around the back of Lennox Head, New Brighton and all those places. It was the local community that got up and saved people and helped people out. There was no one else for 4 days. It was the boys on their jet skis and in tinnies. The women were on the boat ramps. Like local businesses were bringing down jerry cans full of fuel. They were bringing down generators. That everyone just come together as a community and sorted it out. But there's like without that, those people were in all sorts of trouble.
I remember hearing a story that Mick Fanning contacted Musk.
Yeah, Elon,
got the
Elon Musk
got the Starlink internet services. And for people in Lismore.
Yep, people in Lismore and all around the back of
Waddell and all those areas.
Waddell.
Yeah.
And
that was really bad.
They were bad, mate. They were stuck. They were stuck in their roof cavities for 4 days.
Yeah.
No phone, no food, no water, no nothing.
And everything's closed down because the internet needs cable.
Mate, you couldn't get there. You could only get there by boat or jet ski.
You know, it's interesting off the back of that might join up there. And I thought, I've got, I had, some other, internet service. I won't say which one. And I thought, stuff it. I'm going to support Starlink. So I got Starlink on the 2 houses just because of what Mick Fanning did for Lismore. I thought I would reward. It's not going to make any difference to Starlink, but I thought I'll make it. My decision is I'm going with that brand.
Yep.
It was at the time, this was a few years ago, it was a bit more expensive because you had to buy the kit. It's much cheaper now, but great. By the way, an unbelievable service at Starlink. Like I never get downtime. Like even when like last weekend it was like belting down. It was still finding my dish was still finding the satellite, and it was perfect. Every now and then I had like a little blip, but it was heavy duty weather. And that's off the back of someone like Mick Fanning doing what he did, and it wasn't just Mick; it was a whole lot of other blokes. There was a big gang of them,
big group of people,
and they're the sorts of people who are doing this 8-week challenge.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I want to create, like strong communities. For when the shit does hit the fan, like even little things that happen that we don't even know about, like someone's kid's sick, that group of people go and do a fundraiser, like anything like that, just to create like. Because I think that's what we're lacking, like strong, healthy, vibrant communities, especially after COVID. We realised how social people are as well. So now we've got our social life back. We don't have to go to the pub and drink 10 schooners and write yourself off and just talk shit. You don't even remember what your mate said to you anyway.
Well, mate, if you do, you're just repeating shit you've been talking about every other time.
Yeah, it's the same shit.
The same crap.
Same shit. So I'd rather see people come down and train together, have a swim in the ocean or in a cold plunge or whatever they've got, river, go and have a coffee, talk about whatever, like the shit that comes out so funny. And you remember what each other said. You made a new mate and you go about your day and you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, I feel better even just hearing you talk about it now because, it's funny, it's nearly full circle because what you're telling me now, what you're trying to create or letting others create, helping others create, is sort of like the original foundation premise of the Bra Boys looking after each other. But without all the other stuff that went with it. But it's just older blokes, probably they're not 20-year-olds, probably blokes in 30s, 40s, whatever, building a community themselves, healthy community, looking after each other, looking out for each other, and also enjoying each other's company. Which is sort of where you started when you were 20.
Yeah, definitely.
But you've just taken the best part of it and then put it into what you're doing now.
Took out a bit of stuff. And
you ever thought about that?
Yeah. Oh, not really, no. Now that you just mentioned it, I am. But
because every human likes that, mate. We all want to be part of something.
I love it. It builds so quick too. Like the one in Newcastle started a year ago with like 4 or 5 blokes. They got 50 or 60 blokes turning up to each session.
Are they mostly in surfers?
Bit of everything. Bit of everything. Ex-footy players, surfers, mate, ex-crims, whatever. It doesn't matter.
There's no judgments.
There's no judgments.
Yeah.
It's blokes that have come out of drug and rehab that really come down and love it because it gives them a bit of a purpose. They got something to get up for the next day. It's whoever wants to come and join in. Like like now the women are starting to jump in.
Oh, good.
You've got a lot of women jumping into it as well. Maroubra have got 10 or so girls, young girls that come down and jump in and smash the session with the boys. So now that's the other thing, start to make it more women inclusive as well. I'd love to get more women on the challenge because then the other thing is when you got mum and dad doing the challenge, the healthy living and the healthy lifestyle filters down to the rest of the family without even saying anything. Yeah, we get a bit of feedback from that.
We do what we see.
Yep.
We don't do what we're told.
Yeah, the kids,
monkey see, monkey do.
You don't tell your kids to eat that. But if they see mum and dad cooking healthy, and then we get few people coming back with a bit of feedback saying the kids want to prepare dinner with me. The kids want to come up, jump up in the morning and come for a run with me. So that there's that element of it as well that we get a bit of feedback about as well.
Especially if you start introducing your kids to things like breath work, these unusual things, breath work, maybe it doesn't have to be a cold plunge, but it could be just jump in the ocean.
Yep. Jump in the ocean.
Jump in the ocean.
100%. How much better do you feel?
And walking around on the grass. Like I remember when I was a kid, I had a pair of thongs. That was it. Summer come, so school, no school. So I only had 2 pairs of shoes, a pair of sand shoes and a pair of school shoes and a pair of thongs. In the summer, it was thongs or barefoot everywhere. In those days, you'd stepping on bindies, those bindi eye things, just getting your foot.
Oh, they drop you. Cat's eyes.
Cat's eyes. And they'd be there plucking them out of your foot. But it didn't bother you. Like if a kid today just stood on that, they'd freak out. You step on emergency. A bee. Step on a bee, get a bee sting.
Build up a bit of resilience, the old bee stings.
Or step on a nail, and then you'd be down the doctor getting a tetanus shot. Yeah. I mean, a number of times I got on those things. And I reckon, I don't want to sound like some old dude, but I just think that, and I think of my own grandsons, what I'm talking about is I've got 3 grandsons now, but I think about, are they ever going to experience that sort of stuff, or is it going to be their life's going to be about like protecting and making sure that, put your shoes on, there's bees around here, or put your shoes on, you might step on a rusty nail. I don't want them to get the rusty nail in their foot, but at the same time,
it's a fine line.
I do want them to experience some life. Like it's funny, when my grandson, one of my second eldest grandson, my son sent me a photograph of him on the weekend.
Yep.
And this is like 11 o'clock at night, Saturday night. And when you get a message from your son 11 o'clock at night, it's never good, okay?
What's happening?
So he's at the hospital and in Sydney. And my grandson is one year and 3 weeks old. Wild as they come. And he climbed up on top of a beanbag and fell off onto a concrete floor. So he opened his head up. He's got the biggest gash on his head, like big gash on his head. And the worst part about it is, he got there at 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. But the worst part about it is I was still at 11 waiting for someone to come and stitch him up. Yeah. That's the hospital system. Is that the Prince of Wales?
Yeah.
And I thought and he's stitched up now, and he got 3 stitches in his head. He's got a bandage. And I thought to myself, yeah, but it's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of okay too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong. And his older brother was crying.
Yep.
And I thought, well, that's okay too. You see your little brother get injured, you feel something.
Yeah.
And that's something you never forget when you're 6 or 7 and your little brother's 1. You will never forget that incident. And those little sort of natural human things that happen to us, like I was saying before about running around with your bare feet on the grass and standing on a little flower that might have a bee on it and getting a bee sting. Mate, they're all nature's little warnings, and
builds up a bit of resilience, builds up a bit of grit.
Totally,
yeah, we need it.
I think we need it, and then also your 8-week challenge. It's sort of an older person's version of what I just said. Like it's about being natural. Stop drinking. Watch what you eat well, sleep well, train your ass off, have a goal, talk to your mates about it, because training your ass off on your own is really hard.
Yeah.
Talk to your mates about it.
Yep.
Watch the day they're down, because you be rest assured you're going to have a shit day.
You pick each other up. When
you say, come
need
on, mate,
it.
let's get into it. If I turn up, I'll turn up because I know you're turning up. Because
100%.
I don't want to let you down.
That's a good motivator.
But totally.
Yep.
Really, this morning I didn't train because I got up a bit later. I didn't go to bed late. And but if I was meeting someone, there's no way in the world. If I went to bed at 2 a.m, I was still turning up at 6 because I don't want to let someone down.
100%.
Not myself. But I'll let myself down every time.
Yeah.
But if I got someone else, I don't want to let them down. So I think that community thing is really important.
Yeah.
The 8-week challenge, I think is a ripper. It's funny, Ginge and I talking about a bloke who we know needs to do something about his training regime.
Yep.
And Ginge said to me, get him on the 8-week challenge.
Yeah. Bring him in.
So maybe we should build a little group, me and him and a few others.
Yeah. Get a Bondi chapter going.
Yeah, Bondi chapter. Well, he's a Roosters guy, so we could do it.
Another Rooster.
Yeah, another Rooster.
Surrounded by
Mate, they're everywhere. You're not going to tell me you're a Bunny supporter.
I'm a Bunny supporter,
Oh,
mate.
my God. And so is our producer over there. Look at him,
mate,
fist pumping. What's wrong with you
Two of my
guys?
best mates, Fish from Maroubra, Mark Fisher, who's good mates with Ginge, and Ginge, two of my best mates are Roosters. Two of my best, closest friends. So I'm used to it, mate. And then I know Trent Robbo well, and another, obviously the coach, and you, and Sammy over there, surrounded by
there's Roosters everywhere. So, mate, I want to wish you the best for the what date in February? What date?
3rd of February.
3rd of Feb.
Yep.
I want to wish you the best for the 3rd.
Thanks,
I want to wish,
mate.
but more important, you don't need it. I want to wish all the people who join up the best outcome.
Yeah,
that's great. It's a great initiative. And if you're listening, and you want to get motivated, it's called the 8-week challenge.
Yep.
Is there a website?
Big 8 challenge.
The Big 8 challenge.
Yep.
So is there a website?
We'll put it on the link below.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And go there, get a gang together.
Yep.
Register whenever the time comes for registration and have a crack.
Yep. Thanks,
Johnny.
Thanks, Mark.
Good
Appreciate
to see you,
it, mate. Thank you, mate.